So, you've been to one of our dark sky discovery sites and you've realised you've got a bit of a taste for astronomy. So what are the next steps? You've been out and you've kind of looked at the sky with your naked eye, with your planispheres and things like that, and you've observed some few things, but now you've got an urge to do something a bit more interesting. Well, the first thing I would do is check out your local astronomy group. There are loads in the South Downs dotted all over the place, and they offer different things. Some do some nice star parties throughout the year where they get their members to bring out the telescopes so you can kind of try things before you even get involved, and they are very, very knowledgeable, these guys, so bend their ear and everything. Some of the other societies have got a bit more fun things to do. So Clanfield Observatory, for example, has got an observatory, hence the name. And that's run by the Hampshire Astronomical Group, and they sometimes do open evenings where you can look through their whopper of a 22-inch telescope and get some magnificent views of the planets and things like that. So first tip is to go check out your local astronomy group. But when you've done that, you've got feeling a bit flush, you're going to buy your first bit of kit. What are you going to buy? Well, can't go wrong with a nice decent small telescope that you can fit in the back of your car. You can pick these up from anywhere from about 150 quid to about 500, I'd say, for a first beginner one. And basically telescopes come in two brands, refractors and reflectors. I'll let you Google that because it takes far too much explaining, but you can get started pretty easily. After that, it gets a little bit more complicated. There's a million different ways you can go. You can be an observer, or you can dabble in astrophotography, which is a minefield in itself, but very satisfying when you get those lovely big pictures. So maybe I'll give some camera tips as well when I walk back from where we're going now. But you can get started pretty easy with a basic telescope, and if you can't really want to do all of that kind of stuff, just buy yourself a bit decent set of binoculars. You can see loads with binoculars. The moon, some of the planets have got their moons as well, some of the rings as well around Saturn, so you can't really go wrong with a good set of binoculars. And the good thing is they fit in your backpack. You don't have to lug all of your stuff around, which can be problematic if you've got chargers, cameras, tripods, gloves, coffee, hats, cold, filters, eyepieces, lenses, more batteries because I forgot the other ones, memory cards that you tend to forget, loads of things that fill up your pockets. You can have a good time with some binoculars. You've had a lovely evening outside, but you really want to capture the moment. So how do you get started in astrophotography? Because it is quite complicated, but it can be quite simple. You can actually start with just your mobile phone. Phones are really good these days, and if you get a decent one, I mean, I'll make sure I've got a decent one, is you can actually tinker with the manual settings to get the most out of your camera. So things like the exposure time, the ISO settings, and the manual focus, and things like that, you can actually tinker with. You can get some really decent pictures on your phone. Some really good landscape pictures as well. But one thing you are going to need to do is make sure your camera is stable. So you'll probably need some kind of tripod, or if you can persuade someone smaller than you, you can use their head, but they've got to stay very still. The next step up is to buy a camera. And really what you want to do is buy a camera that you've got the ability to change the settings. You really need to be able to take pictures that last longer than 30 seconds. And the reason is you want more and more light to enter the camera. The more light you get, the more stars you get. So things like a DSLR, they're really good, but they are quite expensive. And some kind of like smart cameras these days, they do allow you to kind of change those settings. Again, you're going to need a tripod, but the bigger the camera, or the more expensive, usually the more light it's able to capture, the more functions it has. Now the thing is, you can go a little bit further as well. So the trouble with the 30-second thing is after about 30 seconds of a static held camera, the stars begin to move around. So you kind of get those lovely star trail pictures. It's worth having a go at those because they are quite fun to do. But if you want to get the best Milky Way shots, you really need to have a camera that moves with the stars. So for those things, you need to buy a specialist mount, and you can pick these up for around £300, £400. We've got one at the National Park, and we do a lot of our photography on those because you can put them in your backpack and go to places like this. But really what they do is they track the sky. They move with the stars, so you can hold the camera exposure for much, much longer. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, as much as you dare, and you can take some really stunning photography after that. The trouble is though, if the stars don't move, the land moves, so you've got to be in quite a dark place. But then you can start playing with kind of light painting and things like that, which is quite fun, and people have a lot of fun with that. So you can get started with your mobile phone, or you can invest a lot of time and money to get that perfect picture.